This is G-Free Radio. Here's your host, Peter Stewart.
And it's episode 67, Multiple Allergies and Crates of Zero. Hello, I am Peter Stewart. Now, okay, you're gluten-free and you might have celiac disease, or maybe you're gluten-free and dairy-free, or gluten-free and egg-free. But what if you're gluten-free and dairy-free and egg-free and corn-free? We'll hear from the woman who started a campaign for more GF brands to exclude corn, egg and dairy from their products as well, for those people with celiac disease who also have additional allergies. Crate of nothing. Well, after chatting with a few friends with celiac disease, Craig realised just how dismal a choice of gluten-free grub there is on some supermarket shelves, not to mention the dire straits of some restaurant menus. So, being a big foodie himself, he decided to try and fill the void by creating Crate of Nothing, a 100% gluten and dairy-free box of goodies posted direct to your home or office, or maybe to a friend. By seeking out small suppliers or items which may not be generally available, they offer a really wide range of things which you may not have seen before. We'll hear more about the business from Debbie Denham a little bit later on in the programme. Plus, a mention for our new friends who've sent us a cake this week, a great new concept in gluten-free baking, which is going to go down a real treat for me today, Saturday the 16th, specifically. Wonder if you can guess what all that's about. But first of all, Jen Patchett. And Jen has started up the group, which is all about living with multiple food allergies. CEDF, celiacs, corn, egg and dairy-free celiacs. We've been speaking with Jen Patchett.
I suffer from gluten, corn and dairy intolerance, and I got a bit fed up of not being able to find anything in the shops that I could eat, because there's lots out there for gluten intolerance and there's lots of stuff out there for people with egg allergies and milk allergies, but not necessarily for people that have got lots of intolerances and allergies. And I've found that most of the gluten-free products have corn in them, which is a recent thing that I found I can't have after doing an elimination diet last Christmas that my dietitian put me on, because I was still having bother from being gluten and dairy free. And when I went into the shops and I was reading all the ingredient lists, I found that everything's got corn in. So I got a bit fed up of it and I thought, right, well, someone's got to do something about this. So I started a campaign on Twitter and Facebook and got a fair few followers so far. It's only been going a couple of weeks, but there seems to be quite a lot of people like me that have the same problem.
Okay, now my first reaction was to say, oh, poor you. And now I'm interested, because the way you said it and that little laugh there makes it sound as though I shouldn't, that actually you're taking it all in your stride and you don't want to be patronised.
Well, I've had gluten issues for about 5 or 6 years now, and I've gone off and on the diet, mainly gone back off the diet because it's a pain to stick to. When you sort of you go out for a meal and can't find anything to eat. I mean, it's not so bad now. More restaurants are picking up on it and offering things, which is really good. But over the years, I found it was quite difficult to stick to, but I've been getting more ill. So this last sort of 6 months is really been a turning point, and I've decided, it's not worth it. It's not worth eating a pizza just because all the rest of my family are. So, yeah, I've kind of got used to it now, and it's just become normal.
So you have a workaround at home, obviously, because you only bring into the house the certain things anyway. But what do you do when you do eat out? I mean, dairy, corn and gluten problems, then what do you have?
Not a lot. Salad, a plain salad. I mean, it's in sauces. Corn is in everything, and this is something I've found is very difficult. There's corn flour or maize flour, and then even things such as maltodextrin and dextrose and all kind of bizarre names that you've never even heard of. So I have to be careful when I just read the labels on everything. But eating out is difficult. I have to ask the question, and if they're not sure, I just don't have it. So, I mean, we went out for a meal a couple of weeks ago for our anniversary, and I just had a steak and gluten-free chips and a side salad.
Okay, well, that's not too bad,
it's not. It's just plain stuff. It's a safe bet.
And actual cuts of meat rather
Yes.
than anything processed, let alone
Yeah.
meat, but any pies or anything with sauces or anything like that is essentially out.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. I mean, the restaurants and even some takeaways do cater for gluten-free, but then you find that, like, for example, pizza chains that do gluten-free bases, which is fantastic now, but then they still might have milk in, or they might have the corn flour in. So for me, I still can't have them, although there's a lot of people out there that it's just gluten sensitivity or intolerance with the celiac disease and wheat, that they're still okay with those, but it's for the people that have additional problems that can't.
So Jen, to take me back, when did Jen's body start fighting against Jen's body, Jen?
A long time ago. Let's see, I'm 30 now, and I've got a disability as well, which I've got hypermobility syndrome, so that affects my joints, and that properly kicked off after I had my son 9 years ago. So it was probably about then that my body started attacking itself, and it was when he was a baby that I discovered, they said I had IBS, and I looked it up online and found various forums of people saying different things that bothered them that I cut out of my own accord, and gluten was one, and then dairy was the other. And I found that when I reintroduced them, probably 7 years ago, when I first started it, that it was kind of process of elimination. So, yeah, and I've been off and on for about 7 years, but only the last year really stuck to the gluten and dairy, but then found I was still having trouble. So I went to the dietitian, and she said, right, we're going to put you on an elimination diet last December, and cut right back to bare minimum. So no sauces, no butter. The only things I could drink was water, black tea, and 7-Up.
7-Up?
Yeah, of all things.
I wasn't expecting that to be on the list. Why 7-Up?
I think because it doesn't have any additives and things like that in it.
Because the Cokes and so on have the corn syrup.
Yes,
yeah, that's right. Okay.
And flavourings and things. So, and I could eat broccoli, I could eat turkey and lamb, carrots, celery. Can't remember what else was on. It was really basic. For I think I had to do that for 2 or 3 weeks, and then slowly reintroduce things. Like peas, slowly introduce beef and chicken and everything that you would just eat on a normal day-to-day basis.
Okay, so...
And then record what gave me a reaction.
And how quick would a reaction come along? And what kind of reaction would it be? What are we talking about?
Well, varies. Some things make me really bloated with stomach cramps, alternating constipation and diarrhea, just headaches, horrible, just feeling really run down, and sometimes doubled over in pain with the stomach cramps. So yeah, but I found on the diet that it was definitely gluten and wheat products, definitely dairy, and it wasn't just a lactose intolerance. Even on the lacto-free stuff, it was still giving me issues. Corn and peanuts. So yeah.
So peanuts as well. You're chucking the nuts in now.
Yeah, I'm not allergic. I didn't have any, adverse reactions in terms of allergy, but just intolerance, and again with the cramps and the bloating and backwards and forwards to the loo. Yeah, it's really bizarre. But the corn was a complete shock because, like I say, it's in so many gluten-free products like your breads and your pasta, and cake and biscuits. And I was eating the gluten-free to stay off the gluten without realising I was still having a problem with the corn. And then when I said, well, I'm still having all this bother, she put me on the diet, and then I realised, it's in the gluten-free stuff that's giving me the trouble. So.
And how good, it sounds like you had a really good dietitian there who was leading you through. I've had lots of experience of the NHS in the last few weeks, and they've been nothing short of brilliant and superb for other family reasons. How were they with you with this slightly unusual problem that you've been experiencing?
Well, I started with the normal dietitians, if you like, and then got referred from them onto the gastro
super dietitian.
side. Yeah, and she was super. She's brilliant. I just spoke to her the other day again, and she's fantastic. She's been really helpful and patient and sort of giving suggestions, and I've seen her 2 or 3 times now. And yeah, she just said, well, with all I'd kind of gone along the right track myself in working out things and eliminating them myself, like the gluten and dairy, but still with having problems. It was then she'd suggested the elimination diet. She actually said to start after Christmas because she didn't want to put me through Christmas on this faddy diet that you can't eat anything. But I actually decided to start a week before Christmas because I thought I'm more likely to eat chocolate and not stick to my be really sensible if everyone else around me is eating nice things over Christmas. So I thought if I'm on this special diet, then I have to be really strict, and then it will do me a lot more good. And it did.
And we'll hear a little bit more from Jen Patchett a little bit later on in the programme. But first of all, there you are at home. There's a ring on the doorbell. There's a knock on the door, or something hard lands on the doormat. What is it? You go downstairs, you leave the sitting room or lounge, you leave your flat screen TV behind, you put your cooking onto the back burner, and you go and see what it is, and it's absolutely nothing. In fact, it's a crate of nothing. Intrigued? Debbie Denham explains.
We have a lot of friends, mutual friends, the 3 of us, Liam, Craig and I, who are gluten-free and who are maybe dairy-free, and they struggle all the time whenever they go into the supermarkets to get stuff that actually tastes nice. And, the supermarkets are doing really well now in that they are branching out and accepting and bringing in much more product that they can eat. But it's still missing that artisan quality that so many of us who don't have a food intolerance, that we get. So basically, Creative Nothing, it was the name actually came out of nowhere because we knew we wanted crate, and then the nothing was just kind of something that I came up with because we couldn't really decide on something to put in. But then it seems to work because it's a crate that's free from these certain things. So
absolutely, yeah. So you've got a box full of things which are free from foods.
Exactly. Yes, it's playing on the free from terminology, really. So
I like it. Okay, so talk us through the process. So I get things in this box which I'm not going to discover normally at a supermarket, presumably, or indeed if I have trouble getting to a supermarket. I could be living in the country, or I may have a disability or something like that. Everything is posted to me at the door.
Yes, exactly. We send everything out via courier. Now, it is a monthly box at the moment, so we send it out on the 1st of every single month, and it normally gets there within, 2 or 3 days, depending on what or where people are situated. And yeah, it's basically a box full of treats and goodies and delicious delights that, you won't pick up in supermarkets, or that you may struggle to find in supermarkets.
So you're doing all the exploration, you're diving into various other websites and so on. You're doing some good deals and discovering some fantastic treats or some new innovative foods that people haven't come across themselves.
Yeah, well, one of the big things that we actually want to bring to the forefront is actually kind of artisan bakers and artisan chefs that wouldn't normally get a look in the supermarkets because they're not a very well-known name or brand. So we go and we hunt out these artisan chefs who are maybe, cooking for a gluten-free partner and they just happen to do gluten-free cakes on the side or dairy-free cakes on the side, but they've got a niche market, and that's really what we want to bring to people is we want to give them the opportunity to have artisan treats and trinkets that taste immense that you just can't normally pick up.
So you couldn't get these in any other place, but also it's helping out the local providers as well, isn't it? If you book them up far enough in advance, a couple of 3 months in advance, they can do a job lot of their fantastic, I don't know, bakewell slices or something, and everyone is a winner. So
Exactly.
it's the baker, it's you, it's the people sitting at home waiting for some delicious treats.
Yeah, exactly. That's it in a nutshell, definitely.
Okay, so they have to get online. So talk us through that process. What are they greeted with when they go online? How is that invitation presented to them?
Well, basically, there are two options from which you can choose to get your crate off nothing. And one option is your monthly subscription package, which every single month we'll send you out a crate and it'll cost you £20 a month. And all you do is sign up for the subscription and we'll send you the box out on the first of every month. If this subscription idea doesn't appeal to you, or if you're just not sure that you want to commit to something long term like that, there is the option of purchasing a single crate as well. And it's £22.50. And all you do is you register that you're wanting your crate, you pay through PayPal, and then we'll send you the box out on the first of the month.
And you know what? It strikes me that not only is this a good present from a family member to someone, especially if they live quite a distance away, because, a package is always fantastic to receive something like that through the post, but it also could be a thank you from your boss at work or something like that. It could be some kind of incentive, couldn't it?
Definitely. I mean, there's times and times again that I've been in office situations that people have gone, I don't know what to get anybody because they have this food intolerance or they're gluten free or they're dairy free, but there's nothing really I can get them because one of the go-to things is alcohol. And a lot of people are like, well, there's no gluten free beers or anything like that. Whereas this service is giving people the opportunity to give a present to somebody that'll taste good and look good as well.
So, Debbie, tell me the kind of thing that's in a box. You don't want to give too much away, do you? Because you want it to be a bit of a surprise. But what kind of thing generally will people find up when they prise open the lid?
Well, we do tend to make it different for every month. We try to have a different theme for every month. Last month was Hazel's box, and it was very much full of sweet treats and trinkets. It was full of cakes, and it had a macaroon in it and a gingerbread man, and we felt like that was a good way to go for our first box because one of the most complained about things from a from someone who has to eat free from food is that they don't get very many tasty sweet treats. So that's why we went along those routes. But that's not to say that all of our future boxes will be as sweet as that. We are intending and we have made plans to go much more savoury and eventually just get a good mix between the sweet and savoury delights that you can't normally get in your supermarket.
And Debbie, tell me about what is your background? Now, you mentioned Liam and Craig a little bit earlier on, and there's you as well. So is it the Three Musketeers? And do you all have food allergies or intolerances?
Interestingly, no. That's the thing, is that we don't. The reason why we started up this company was because we all have a lot of friends who suffer from it. And one of my biggest things was if they were coming around for dinner or if they were coming around just for a chat, I couldn't find stuff to give them as a treat or for dessert. And in the end, you end up serving them fruit salad and you feel, you don't feel like you've given them a proper dining experience.
Oh, tell me about it. I was at an event. I was hosting a big corporate event. In fact, almost exactly a year ago, and they knew I was gluten free. So my starter was fruit salad. Fruit kebabs. That was what it was. And then I had the main course without gravy. So it was chicken and vegetables and no gravy. And then the dessert was fruit salad again. It was essentially the fruit kebabs, but without the stick. And I felt really cheated. I felt a big corporate event. They could have tried a little bit harder. So I know where you're coming from.
Yeah, we just wanted to be able to provide for people. I mean, a lot of my friends are gluten-free. It's one of those things that is under the radar, but shouldn't be under the radar, because there are so many people suffer from, or who have celiac disease, or even just have a gluten intolerance and a wheat intolerance. But it's so common, but yet it just doesn't get the press. It's not out there in the webosphere. It's, but in fairness, it is starting to get the traction now in the media. But that's mainly from, in my personal opinion, that's mainly from people getting hooked into the gluten-free diet because they think it'll make them lose weight. And they don't realize that the gluten-free diet, there's people who suffer from a condition that make them eat like this. It's not, it's not a choice, essentially, whereas these people are going, "Ooh, great, something else to help me make me lose weight," rather than just going out and going for a run, or.
So it wasn't a direct need that you had for yourself, but you saw, a good business opportunity, let's be honest, and there's nothing wrong with that. You saw a gap in the market, you saw a problem that needed to be sorted and resolved, and you got in there.
Yeah, well, yes, I suppose you could say that. But at the end of the day, our main cause is to not only highlight the fact that there are these artisan bakers who specialize in creating gluten-free treats, and likewise for chefs, but we want to be able to make the general public aware of food intolerances, and hopefully, raise awareness within restaurants, because I'm sure that you've been in a situation where you've gone into your restaurant and there's barely anything that you can eat because you don't know whether it's gluten-free. And then when you ask a waiter, they're like, "What's gluten-free?" And, so we just want to be able to raise awareness all the while providing a service.
So tell me the truth, when you've got some of these products in, when you're packing up the boxes, you have a sly little nibble, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
And you think to yourself, actually, I wouldn't have known that was gluten-free. That tastes pretty damn good.
Definitely, definitely. In fact, all of the products that I have personally taste tested, I actually prefer them to the gluten alternatives. One of the ones that we had last month, and I don't want to favor one, it's not my favorite, it's just one that stood out to me, was the lemon cake push pop by a lady called Bakes Just For You, who's actually based in Nottingham. And my mum was over helping just kind of, square everything away at the end of last month, and she got addicted to the cake pops, and so much so that I was like, "You need to stop eating the cake pops because they're for everybody else." So
there weren't boxes going out without cake pops in, were there? Because your mum had snapped them.
No, we had plenty.
G3 Radio, I'm Peter Stewart, and as well as Debbie Denham from Crate of Nothing, one of my guests this week is Jen Patchett. And we heard from her a little bit earlier on in today's show. And moving on in the second part of our interview, I wondered how she feels now. Has her new diet made any difference?
I don't know what normal is, really. It's been many years that I haven't had normal because of my other condition that I've got. That affects me, causes fatigue as well. But I did notice when I first came off it all that I had more energy. The headaches were less. And I notice a difference now. If I've eaten something accidentally, I'm really poorly and I just have to go off to bed because the headaches are so bad. I feel sick. And all the other stuff, the pain, it actually flares my joint pain as well that I get from my other condition, my hypermobility syndrome. So I know when I've eaten something I shouldn't have done. So yeah, I suppose in general it has made me feel a lot better coming off the foods that made me ill. I think you just get used to it, and until you realise there's something wrong, that you're putting something in your body that's causing a problem, you just kind of get on with it, and it is your normal. I don't know what normal is. What's normal?
Well, often I say, isn't it good that actually we can treat a condition just by cutting out foods or reintroducing other foods rather than taking medication and kind of man-made drugs and so on, which obviously can be good under many, many circumstances, but actually, it's better to do it potentially, perhaps, a more natural way, just with the foods that you do or don't eat. You were saying how much support you've got from the NHS. What about your friends, family, colleagues? I'm looking at a picture of you on Skype at the moment. I'm guessing that's your husband.
Yeah.
Holding up. What is that? Is that a VIP pass for a concert or something?
It's British touring cars.
Oh, right, cool, okay.
Yeah.
So obviously you're getting a lot of course you are, a lot of love and support from Mr. Patchett.
That's right.
And as I say, what about the rest of your family, friends and colleagues?
Well, yes. It's been difficult getting other people to understand. I don't have. Well, my grandma has wheat intolerance, but other people in the family don't really have any food issues. So that took quite a long time for people to understand exactly what it means. And then I'd get, oh, well, surely you'll be all right. You're not allergic, so you must be all right if you eat something. You'll be okay in a couple of days. And I thought, well, yes, I will be okay in a couple of days, but in the meantime, I'm going to be quite poorly. But actually, they ended up coming around to, I think some of them looked it up and then realised, and then when they saw me when I wasn't at my best, when I had eaten something I shouldn't have done, they then realised the effects it had. My brother got married in April, and they were really good at communicating with the venue, making sure that I had nothing in my meal that was going to make me poorly. And even when I was sat down having my meal, the lady that was coordinating it all came over and said, oh, you can have this, we've checked, and went to sort of the extra mile to make sure that I had an enjoyable meal, which I thought was brilliant. So yeah, it's been positive, but it's taken a long time to get there.
And what about you? You mentioned your son, your little lad. Is this likely to be going through the generations? Is he showing any signs, or is he as right as rain?
He does have bowel issues. Again, he's been diagnosed with the same as me, with the hypermobility syndrome, and there is it's common for people to have gut and bowel issues and bladder issues as well with that condition, because it's a collagen problem. So your collagen's not quite right, which is in all parts of your body. And he gets very bloated and constipated. He's on some Movicol, I think it is, to help him go to the loo. I started like that when I was about his age. He's 9. And yeah, it just got progressively worse as I got older, but nothing was done about it, because again, you just think what goes on with your own body is normal and you get on with it.
Yeah.
Whereas I've recognised in him from me and from learning from people about what you should be doing, what should be happening with your body, I've then realised, well, it's not right. So his doctor's been very good. The Movicol seems to be helping. And we did find if he eats a lot of stodgy food, then it's worse. I put him on a gluten-free diet at one point, and it did help, but it's hard for a child, and he's not as bad as me. So we just monitor what he eats and make sure he doesn't have too much, like heavy pizzas or bread or things. Keep an eye on it at the moment. In terms of, I spoke to my dietitian the other day, because I haven't actually been diagnosed with celiac disease, but because of how sensitive I am now, she's wanting me to have the biopsy, but it means going back on eating gluten for 6 weeks, and I don't know if I can put myself through it. So that's something I'm in discussion with my GP at the moment, going back to see him on Friday, but I don't know, I'm in two minds. But I've read, because I've done more research on it recently, and I've read that there can be a family link. So if, should I put myself through it to get the diagnosis? If I do have it, then more attention might be paid to my son in case he has it. It's a tricky point.
It is tricky, isn't it? And I really thank you for being so open and honest and sharing that. And something that jumped out at me was, you presume what you're going through is normal, and certainly thinking about me growing up and now looking back at my feelings and bowel habits and things like that. And I just thought, well, I didn't think. It just didn't cross my mind that what I was going through was a problem, because you don't monitor even how often other people go to the toilet, and you certainly don't know what happens when they're in there.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. That's really interesting, isn't it? And now you've gone through it, and you can see that and some of the signs and symptoms perhaps in your son, and able to help him and give him that support and so on, which is fantastic. And talking about support, so you've set up this group for people who are gluten, corn, dairy, and also egg intolerant.
Yes.
What are you hoping to do with this group? How are you hoping to help people?
Well, I set it up as I've got a couple of friends that also have other food intolerances and allergies, and it started off as corn and dairy-free celiacs, but then became egg as well, because I have a friend who's allergic to eggs, so I didn't want to leave her out. And I'm aware that
she's
egg
used
is
to being
quite
left out, I guess. In many
situations.
Yeah.
I'm aware that egg is quite a common allergy as well, so I thought, well, why not include? I mean, you can't include everything, because one of the I contacted a lot of the gluten-free manufacturers to ask them, what do you provide that's free from these additional things, and would you consider having more products available for people with celiac and additional allergies and intolerances? I've had mixed responses back. Some have said, yes, we're working on it now actually, and some have said, here's a list of foods that we provide, and there's like a breakdown of what's corn-free, dairy-free, egg-free, soya-free, and all sorts, which is brilliant. And then I've had some come back and say, no, there isn't enough demand. We're sticking to what we're doing, which is a shame, because I think there would be the demand for it. But that's, it's their product. They're entitled to do what they wish. But I was hoping that we might get a few people on the bandwagon and show that there is a demand for these foods, particularly bread. Bread, I can't find bread that doesn't have corn in it. So yeah, that would be good. But yeah, we're on Twitter and Facebook, and we've got, I think we've got over 100 followers on Twitter now, and about 60 on Facebook.
And you've only been going a few weeks, because I know you were surprised when I got in touch with you. What is it that you that you really miss? Is it the bread, or are you thinking to yourself, boy, oh boy, I keep hearing about these Krispy Kreme donuts, or what I wouldn't give for a fish finger?
All of it. All of it. Yeah, bread in particular, I'd like to be able to have. I mean, I could make my own bread, but it's hard work and it doesn't turn out right. It's not the same. So I'd like someone to make a really nice loaf of bread that you can have a decent sandwich out of. Pasties as well. I've seen a lot of people say online that they miss going to Greg's, or whatever your famous bakery is, your favourite one.
Well, you know what, I'm surprised there are so many Greg's in the high streets, aren't there? And these, if you're listening to the show from outside the UK, how do we explain Greg's? It's a kind of it's a rather cheap with respect to Greg's mass-produced bakery, isn't it? Doing the sausage rolls and the pasties and the bakes and so on, and also the donuts and things like that, and the and sandwiches. But there's nothing gluten-free. I know they did a trial a couple of years ago, doing some gluten-free items, but said that there wasn't the demand, and so stopped doing them. And that's a really great shame. But I guess if they're not going to do gluten-free stuff, they're not going to do gluten-free, corn-free, dairy-free, and egg-free as well, I would guess. But that's a great shame, isn't it? Because I would have thought, because they have the economy of scale, don't they? And they've got the logistics, they've got the distribution network and so on. I wouldn't have thought it would take much. What about some of the other big players, like the big chain supermarkets and so on? Are they interested at all?
Well, so far the response I've had is, we'll pass this on to our team and look into it. I've not had a definite yes.
That's a euphemism, you know that, don't you?
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure the floor covering in their offices, but I'm guessing it's a carpet, and I guess they've put your request underneath it.
Probably. Which you never know. They might come back and say, actually, yes, we're going to do this. But the gluten-free ranges have really grown over the last few years, and that's fantastic because when I was first going on the diet 7 years ago, there wasn't an awful lot about, and it was so disappointing. And with I think it was Celiac Awareness Month in May, I think Celiac UK asked the supermarkets to have in the awareness week, make sure they were really stocked up on providing for people, which I believe they did. From what I've seen on Facebook, there's photos of just stuff all over the shelves, which is great. It's just there's not an awful lot, as I say, for people with gluten and extra stuff going on. So that's what I'm trying to push is the awareness. The other thing is the labelling of products. Your wheat, your gluten, dairy, egg, celery is all highlighted in bold as an allergen, but then the corn isn't, and it's not recognised as an allergen. Then when it's hidden in things like maltodextrin and stuff that you've never heard of, it's so hard to find something. You then stand there for ages reading all the labels, and some of them have got 20, 25 ingredients in that you just stand there forever reading.
So if nothing else, with a sort of support group, and you kind of being a band of brothers and sisters together in this, you will be able to recommend to each other some of the little tricks, some of the foods that you have found, a restaurant that treats you really well, or has a great kind of breakdown list or something like that that you can go to. Yeah.
We've had a few people recommend, I've seen this in Waitrose, or I've seen that in Tesco, and try this, and recipes and stuff as well, homemade things that they've done that's worked well. So there are people sharing things now, which is great.
Okay, and if people want to share some more with you, how can they get in touch with you? How do they find you?
Well, on it's Twitter and Facebook, and if they just search CEDF celiacs, as in corn, egg, dairy free celiacs, and then there's the email cedfceliacs@gmail.com.
Okay, and this is celiacs with the English spelling of absolutely with the British spelling. So obviously, if you're listening to this in another part of the world and you're thinking, well, anywhere in the world, and you're thinking, you know what, some of that kind of fits in with me, or I've got a bit of information I can share. That's how you get in touch with Jen, and you can pass on your advice and give her your support as well. Jen, thanks so much for speaking with us.
Thank you. It's been great.
Jen Patchett, and also we heard from Debbie Denham from Crate of Nothing a little bit earlier on as well. A couple more things to tell you about before we go this week, and first of all it is about this. Now, I was sent, rather surprisingly, in the post this week, another box, not a Crate of Nothing box, but a box, and inside there's a little plastic bag with a balloon and a couple of candles in, and a party blower. Okay, and also there's a tin inside this box. Really nice round tin, about 1.5 inches high, and on the front of it says "just for you." And if I open it up, there we go. Inside, wow! How about that? We have a birthday cake. Happy birthday! Happy birthday, Peter! And there's a picture of a microphone. That is really, really cool. And our thanks, because it is my birthday today. I'm not entirely sure how they knew over at bakerdays.com, but they did. Oh, and there's also a little birthday card as well. Enjoy your cake from Baker Days, which is really, really sweet. So let's tell you a little bit about Baker Days, because they've also got a little advert in here. It's all about the cake. Happy birthday. And you can choose from one of 6 recipes: chocolate, vanilla, gluten and wheat free, fruit, half chocolate, half vanilla, or dairy free. And also they do corporates as well. So essentially what they do is they send a cake out, either 5 inches, 7 inches, 9 inches, or 12 inches, which is 40 to 55 portions. And what they can do is they can put on, here we go. This new concept of cake is changing the way the world thinks of showing they're thinking of someone. A small scrumptious cake which arrives with the postman can be covered in your caring words, funny photos, or anything you could possibly want. The letterbox size cake, yeah, because it does come through. It does come through the letterbox. All our cakes are dispatched fresh and will stay in tip-top eating condition for 14 days. Keep your cake in a cool, dry place for 14 days of yumminess. And it's really well laid out as well. Fantastic little logo in a heart. Order before 2 p.m. for next day deliveries. How do you do that? You get onto them at bakerdays.com. It's really, really good idea. And you know what? I'm going to be enjoying tucking into that over the next few days. And we'll arrange to get Baker Days on so they can tell us a bit more about their concept and why they decided to come up with it. And thank them personally for getting into the gluten-free market as well sometime over the next few weeks or months as we progress with the G-Free radio show. Next week on the programme, incidentally, let's just take a little look at our running order. Well, we've all been there, haven't we? Getting glutened. It may be a risk we decided to take at a restaurant that didn't work out, or maybe a silly mistake that we made in the kitchen at home. The time we went along with the assurances we were given that turned out to be hollow. It may have been that time when we ate something to be polite and the situation turned out to be very nasty indeed. We've all played gluten roulette and sometimes we've lost. It's happened to all of us. But what to do afterwards? How do we recover? Next week on the show are easy steps to get back on your feet. How to get from the bathroom back to the boardroom or wherever else you work. How to look after your tum so it recovers in super quick time. We're going to be hearing from Gigi Stewart next week on the programme. Plus, the best-selling gluten-free pasta in Italy is now available in the United Kingdom from the company, the translation of which is the food of life. That sounds good, doesn't it? Oh, I'm making a change from pasta, rice and potatoes, gluten-free potato gnocchi. And a lovely, simple, straightforward, fresh, lively and light recipe that you can enjoy all year round. So that's more in episode 68 of the G-Free radio show. It is the world's only weekly podcast about living G-Free, whether you have celiac disease or whether you don't and you're deciding yourself to live a gluten-free lifestyle. We've got all the hints and the tips, all the new products, bit of health advice in there as well, to make your life a little bit easier. Don't forget to like us, love us, favourite us, retweet us and all the usual things on social media, because by working together in that particular way is what makes us all that little bit stronger. Have a good 7 days. We'll be back in the blink of an eye. I'm Peter Stewart.